Okay, welcome to SaceCast. This is the part 2 of our saucy saga, where things are about to get real juicy.
Yep.
And my name is Porter. This is my brother.
I'm Ryan.
We're the Smitty Bros. This is the Smitty Bros SaceCast. We just ended with kind of how we were doing when I would say our sauce business, Bitchin Sauce, was at its peak while we were there.
Yep.
And we were starting to see some red flags with within the core group of people, within the ownership group, and their spouses.
Yep.
And so what happened next?
Yeah. So, picking up from where we left off, as far as our store reach, we're Southern California, Colorado region, Bay Area region of Whole Foods. We are working through the details with Costco about this deal. It's pretty much done. It's just a matter of getting our facility audited and getting some of these pieces in place to launch with Costco. So all this stuff is happening. As you would hear in our previous podcast is, we just restructured our production and how we were paying people and found some red flags there. You can go back and listen to it. But moving into, this is kind of where things started getting, red flags became more apparent. And so just jumping right into it, we had launched into the Bay Area region of Whole Foods, and we had been supporting that by Porter really leaving his family for 2 weeks at a time, going up there, doing demos, then coming back, and then needing to go up the next month because our product had a month shelf life. And so we'd do a shipment, go up, make sure it all sold, and then he would come back, and then we'd do another shipment. He'd go up and make sure it all sold by doing demos and marketing and all that. And so that was getting pretty taxing, a lot of work, especially with young families, young kids. And so one day, I think you were talking to Star about your idea, which your idea was, why don't I go up to the Bay Area and not just go up on a trip, but like, why don't I relocate to the Bay Area? I'll relocate my family because we saw the opportunity of the Bay Area as like, it was huge. It was huge. It was just massive opportunity for our product to do really, really well. And so he was like, I'm in a position where I can relocate my family. You guys have always been a lot more traveling and mobile and, up for adventures. So you presented that, and you presented, at that time, I don't know what it's like now, but at that time, the Bay Area housing prices were way more than anywhere else in California by a lot. And so you were like, in order for me to go accomplish this and go up there, I need like $500. I think it was $500. Was it
$500 a month?
Yeah, I need $500
more than what I was getting paid.
Yeah,
at the time.
I mean, you can say however you want to say it is. You were making $500, or I need, I need a housing allowance of $500 more. That way you're not taking a major personal hit on it. And so my sister said to me, like, what do you think of this idea? And I'm like, it sounds good to me. Like, let's do it. Like, that was the best option because we were trying to figure out how are we going to make this place work? Are we going to hire somebody up there?
There were other options. The other options were to pay demo teams within
the region
of stores, to go do it. Mm-hmm. Very expensive.
Yeah,
not the same.
More expensive.
Way more expensive, and not the same experience that you're going to get from me, the owner of the company.
Yeah.
And the other the other option was to build our own team of people, and basically they would go do my job, which was more expensive than me just doing it.
Exactly.
Truthfully, I would have had to basically live there anyway to train them and make sure and manage them.
Totally.
But for me to just go,
that made the most sense.
Yeah, if the company was looking at 3 different options, one of the 3 options was the cheapest and the absolute best as far as the result,
Totally.
the return on the investment.
Totally. Yeah, and we already had Southern California under our belt, Colorado under our belt of establishing and making successful. So anyways, I was like, let's do it. That sounds great. That makes total sense. And then Star said, well, I think it was something to the tune of, I don't like that idea. I feel that, he thinks he's entitled. And at first I was like, I don't even know. I have no clue what you're talking about. I didn't even know what she meant by that. And come to find out that it was, she thought you were entitled to more money than her or something, which was weird that it was even a comparison. That thought never entered my brain, because I'm a 1/3 owner as well as Star is, and that thought never entered my mind. It was more like, we have a job to do, and here's the least expensive way to do it. But this is the first time in Bitchin Sauce where we ended up in a position where it was like, okay, we have a clear disagreement between the owners, and for whatever reason,
I even offered. I said, well, if I'm not going to go do it, you don't want me to do it, you could go do it,
sure,
and you take the extra money,
sure.
And I remember I was talking to both Star and Luke, and they looked at each other like, "No, should we do that?" Kind of joking. I was like, "You guys, you can't go do that. You haven't done what I've done in the marketplace. I am the best to do this. You have to make the sauce, Luke, and Star. You have to, basically run the back end of this company. I'm the sales guy. I got to go do this."
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we're in this position where there's this disagreement, and there was no convincing our sister otherwise, and it seemed like the issues that were arising were more personal than business, because from the business perspective, if you're going unemotionally just going, what is the best option to get the job done, it was very obvious. But this personal,
and there was no rebuttal or other plan to
there wasn't a better plan.
No, it wasn't a better plan. But we did offer that, like, okay, please come up with a better plan than this.
Yeah.
But, if you don't come up with a better plan than this, then this is the best plan for our growing company.
Yeah, exactly. And so this was the first time where, like, a clear disagreement. There wasn't any turning my sister to, what we thought was the best way to move forward as a company. And it's because there was more of a personal issue going on that, this didn't handle the personal issue. Yeah. And so
it was almost like a personal issue was getting in the way of the growth of our company.
Yes, absolutely.
And everyone that is involved, affecting everyone that is involved.
Yeah.
Everyone has to stay where we're at because someone has a personal issue.
Correct. Yeah. So this is the situation we found ourselves in, and, just thinking of what makes sense from that company perspective, it was like, well, this is what we need to do. This is the best option. There weren't any better options presented. And this is the first place, or the first time, where we're going, okay, well, how do we move forward as a company when we have a disagreement? And this is where, operation agreements and, shareholders agreements and all those things would have come in handy. And where I realized that, those agreements, this was something that I realized, because at first, you think if you're signing an agreement, like you're going, well, I'm signing this, but it's basically me saying, I don't trust you. So I want you need to sign this because I don't trust you. And what I realized is it's not about trust. It's more about communication. It's the person saying, I fully understand what scenario we're in, and I agree to the scenario. And it has nothing to do with the trust side of it. It has to do with communication. And so here we are in a situation, none of these agreements in place, family and business, disagreement, how do we move forward? And so that's when we started talking about well, how do we move forward? How do we actually resolve this? Are we majority rules, or are we unanimous? And obviously our sister said, we are unanimous. We don't make any decisions unless we all agree. And you and I were like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Basically, if someone has a personal issue or any type of issue for any sort of reason, they could stall the company if we were unanimous, and decided that we were unanimous.
But I never thought we were unanimous. That was never communicated to me.
Yeah. Well, that was something we just never discussed, because we're this family, we're best friends. We all want the best. But when that personal thing got in there, it got in the way of wanting the best. It got into a realm of self-preservation. Something was threatened. So anyways, I remember we brought our dad worked for the company, and so we brought our dad into the conversation kind of as a mediator. And I remember this meeting we had. It was you, me, Star, and Dad was there, and we went through everything, and I forget what Dad's response was. I know it was very logical. I think he said Star, something about fear, don't make decisions out of fear or something. I think that was brought up in that meeting. I forget what he said, but in that meeting, he not that it was about siding with anybody, but he totally understood the scenario and was on board with what we were saying and was trying to snap Star out of it.
Yeah.
And she wasn't snapping out of it. And in that meeting, she's texting Luke secretly. We have no idea that this is happening. Now, remember, Luke is an employee of the company. She's texting him. And the next thing I know is Luke comes in to that meeting, clenched fists, and pissed about whatever Star told him. I don't even know.
We were ganging up on her.
Oh yeah, we were ganging up on her, which no, we were just saying something.
We were disagreeing with her,
saying
all of us, and trying to wake her up out of it.
Yeah. No, we were loving her and spending the time with her to help her. Yeah. But anyways,
no, Luke came in.
It was too threatening.
Was there to save her from
her brothers,
a hostile, hostile meaning environment, and he came in and he probably said some things that he regrets saying.
He did.
This day.
You know what? He apologized to me after that. I forget how many days after that, but he did apologize. I don't know if he apologized for barging in, but I think he apologized for the stuff that he said.
Yeah.
Because he said some nasty.
Yeah, he said some nasty stuff.
Emotionally charged things. But he did apologize, and I've forgiven him.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that whole scenario goes down. And then over the next 5 months, I don't know how many months it was.
I think it was less than that.
Less? 3 months?
I think it was even less than that.
Really? I forget.
It was a whirlwind, but we had to get past this personal issue. We had to remove it from the discussion. We had to grow our company.
Yeah.
And but the question was, what are we going to decide? Because we could easily say, you know what, we're going to decide we're majority rule, or we're going to decide we are unanimous decision makers.
Sure.
And we're going to go with this.
Yep.
Or we're going to decide we're majority rules and we're going to have a vote and we're going to then proceed with going to San Francisco and building the company.
Move on.
But there was a few meetings that we had separate from our sister with our dad, looking for counseling on how to handle this. Mm-hmm. And I remember our first understanding, and we did this actually separate from dad, but we were like, you know what? Unanimous is something that we could do.
Yeah,
and they were gone, and they were in Alaska. We wanted them to enjoy their trip and not like drop a huge bomb like we're going.
Yeah, I think that the unanimous thing was my idea. I was like, you know what? Because I'm thinking about what is, I'm really thinking about like, how can I be the most loving in this situation and, just drop all my crap and just be loving. Obviously, we've uncovered something here, but how can I put my sister before myself?
Yeah.
And that was really the thought in like going, okay, well, we'll do.
We were like pointing in the unanimous direction.
We were like, we can do unanimous, which when I look back and I'm going like, could we have done that? Yes, we could have made that decision. And, would it have been the right decision? I believe that what would have transpired after that, this is me kind of like, saying my opinion of what would have happened, but it would have been we would have been a slave to personal issues.
Yep. The company
as deep as they went, and at the same time, not only would we have been a slave to personal issues, maybe we could have, I would imagine eventually it would have separated.
Yeah.
More amicably, maybe, possibly. I don't know. That is a guess, but.
I don't think so.
But the point of what I'm saying is there's no escaping the unhandled issues of the heart, such as bitterness, unforgiveness, hurt, trauma, wherever it came from and wherever the ideas came in, lies that came in, those unhandled will unhandled and watered, those seeds, unhandled and watered, will produce their fruit, and we would have just been subject to that. Sure. And what happened instead was a full exposing of those things to the light, and the reaction, that unfolded thereafter. So,
so our dad advised us.
Yeah,
our dad advised us to stay majority rules, and to to majority of rules can still work. You just have you have to just work through the personal issue and then, or hold on to it, whatever. But
the company moves on regardless.
But the company moves on, so it's not one is better than the other. It's just in this circumstance, majority of rules was better for the company at that point. And Dad pointed that out to us, and we were like, yeah, that's good. That's what we'll do. But we still had some concerns for our sister who was having some issues.
Totally.
And wanted to solve these issues before we go into a vote and I'm leaving and I'm getting this money to build up San Francisco.
Yeah, like we're moving forward without you.
Yeah.
With or without you. Like we wanted to
we
wanted to move forward with you.
Yeah. And so there was some extra efforts to bring understanding to the situation. And, I had questions for her. I remember in a car ride, we were all in the car and I was like, hey, do you feel like if this company were to flop, it would hit you harder than us? And she said, yes, it would. And I was like, that's not, it should, if we go down, it should impact all of us the exact same.
Yeah.
And, either you can let go of that extra burden that you feel like you have, like you can personally let it go, because she was on some loans and she was on
a credit card or something.
Yeah, and she was on the lease for the
lease for the building
And I was like, if it's going to come down harder on any one of us, we should reset so that we are in the position that it will not come down harder on any one of us. And if that means moving out of our facility and downsizing, let's do it. Let's do it now because, it's not going to stop this company. We're going to be awesome and huge. We just have to reset the ownership so everyone...
The ownership burden.
Yeah. But that was declined. That was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I was like, then how are we going to get rid of this extra burden that you feel? Or are you just going to always have that extra burden? There was no solution.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And right after this is when the rolling pin came down. If you've seen our ads, you'll see there's a graphic from the first farmer's market of the pie smith, and there's a rolling pin that I assume is my sister's image, holding a rolling pin and about to hit a pie with it, except my brother's...
My head was in the way of the pie.
It was foretelling. No, the rolling pin came down. So Ryan left for the East Coast.
Yep. I went to Maine, visit my in-laws.
Yep. And my dad left to go to Alaska.
There was one moment even before this where we all sat down. We called in to kind of help. To kind of help
go through this.
Help understanding, bring in a third party, not parents, not anybody involved in the company.
Right.
We brought in a guy who's a business coach and has built companies himself, and just for some advice on the thing. And it was a, I don't know if I would call it a good meeting or a bad meeting. It's just the information was the information. Like, you can set up your company however you want to set it up. You can do it majority rules. You can do it unanimous. Mm-hmm. You can do it however you want.
Yeah, companies spend money on people on different things, and it's okay.
Yeah,
you could buy a house with company money, or you could, My sister was trying to bring home the point that it was not ethical for ownership to be paid different amounts.
We just could classify it as housing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Anyway, out of that meeting,
it's just so silly.
We're sitting there going okay, did that work for you, Star? That guy's a business, He's an expert. He knows what he's talking about. He said we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
You know.
No, but the issue was personal.
Yeah.
It wasn't business. So anyways, that meeting didn't help anything, or it didn't go anywhere from that point.
No.
So yeah, then we move into I'm in Maine. Dad's in Alaska
Maine to visit family.
Yep, to visit family.
Dad went to Alaska to go fishing, I think, and go with a friend.
Yep.
And so I'm stuck. I'm not stuck. I'm in. I'm in.
You're holding down the fort.
I'm holding down the fort, and Star's here too, in San Diego. And I was in the kitchen, in the office, and Star shows up. And actually, Liv was in there too. Liv is Star's sister-in-law, who was doing some of our accounting.
Yeah, accounting.
And so it was me, Star, and Liv. And Star comes up and she says, "You know what, Porter? Your shares are in question." And I said, "That's an interesting thing to say. What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, your shares are in question." I was like, okay, I don't have a question about my shares in the company. I own 33.333% of this company, 1/3. And I know Ryan's not questioning, how many shares I own. So you're the only one with this question. How about we do this? And there was a little sticky note. And I was like, will you please write down how many shares you think I have? And she wouldn't do it. She said no. I said, Star, if you do this, you will be alone. And I was looking at Liv, and Liv was like kind of frozen in her chair over there. And I was like, Star, write this down. Write this down right now. And, she's thinking it's a trap of some kind to be specific about anything. So she got scared. I think she got scared and she ran away. But she just wanted to say that my shares were in question.
Yep.
And I looked at Liv and I'm like, Liv, what do you think about that? She's like, it's brutal is the word that she used. Brutal. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I went into a mode of, without getting a lawyer, I went into a mode of finding out the legality of this business for once.
Yeah.
Finding out, okay, how does this work?
Yeah.
And I asked Star for...
and just for clarification, we were set up as an S Corp.
Yeah.
So shares were issued and split up and reflect on taxes. And
we didn't have any stock certificates.
I wasn't, that was the only thing, is we weren't issued our stock certificates.
Yeah.
When the S Corp was set up, but
no, but taxes.
It reflected on our taxes and all that stuff. So I don't know who was holding the stock certificates. I have no idea.
Who knows if they were even made? But yeah. So I go into. Well, I asked Star. I was like, Star, I need the articles of incorporation because I need to see anything. I've never read them before. Is that where it says it? Is that where it says that I have this much stock? Or someone's got to tell me. Mm-hmm. Someone in authority has to tell me how much stock I have in this company, which I think I know what it is. But so I started searching. She didn't produce the articles of incorporation. I actually have photos of the open drawers where I took photos so that documents I could see if any folders were missing after I looked at it, just to see if anything was getting pulled out. And I have those photos of the file cabinets. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. And, my wife was like, oh boy, you might want to lawyer up on this type of stuff. And I'm like, lawyers, I don't need a lawyer up. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to get through this, but I just need to find out what's the law. So I dove into the corporate code of California.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any bylaws in California, if you have nothing set up, no partnership agreement, no other agreement, it defaults to a majority rules scenario.
Yep.
Where, we can make the decisions on what is, because we are the majority of this company. We are actually the authority.
Yeah.
Together, we're the authority.
Yes.
Because we're 2/3 of the ownership.
Yeah.
But questioning the shares and not producing like an answer is just it doesn't compute in my mind that why you would go that way to gain control of a situation. It just doesn't register for me. Makes no sense.
No.
So,
not if you bought into the company and you invested full.
And I've been on our business
ownership
cards. It says owners, Porter, Ryan, Star.
Yeah.
On the taxes, it's equally divided. Obviously, without producing an answer to that question, it was just anything to get control.
Sure.
Anyways, I called you and I was like, dude, there's some wacky stuff happening over here. And it might have been the next day or the day after. There's probably another couple phone. I think I talked to Star, and I remember standing in my driveway, and I called her on the phone, and I was like, listen, somebody in authority is going to have to tell us what to do here. And she took that as, I'm going to take her to court and the judge. And I was like, you know what? If whoever that authority is, we're going to get to them eventually, because it doesn't seem like any movement is happening.
Where's the answers?
Yeah. And I'm interested because I want this company to keep moving.
Totally. Around that same time, so I was in Maine, and I had a few interesting conversations with Star. One of them was before I went to Maine. We were having a conversation, and she was like, she said something like, we just shouldn't listen to. It was a weird way to say it. It was like, we just shouldn't listen to, the voices of these lies. And I was like, I don't think I was like spiritually mature enough to like fully get what was being said. But she said that, like, we just shouldn't listen to the voices of these lies. And like, I didn't even know what she was talking about. Mm-hmm. And then there was another conversation that I had with her. She had called me in Maine, and it was somewhere around the same time. And she was like, Ryan, I'm just going to summarize it here because I don't have that phone call recorded. But she said, essentially, I am divvying up the ownership different. I'm divvying up the ownership of the company different. She said, you can have your 33% because you worked hard. Mm-hmm. And she said, but Porter gets, I don't know, she said 18 or however the math works out, to where it put her with 51% of the company. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I told her on the phone, I was like, absolutely not. I was like, it would be one thing if you actually had the authority to do this, but you do not have the authority to do this. You do not own the other 66% of the company. It's not yours. Mm-hmm. And what you're suggesting is called stealing. And essentially, she's trying to negotiate, hold our shares ransom with this move that she's making and try to renegotiate something that she has no authority to do. Yeah. And I said, absolutely not. That is stealing. That is stealing. That's it. Straight up. And I think that's when we hung up the phone. But that was the extent of that conversation.
Yeah. Then, not longer after that, she called both of us.
Yeah.
And got us both on the phone.
Yep.
And she said, I've changed the locks on the facility.
Yeah.
You're no longer allowed to go into the facility. I've taken Bitchin Sauce
out of the company.
Out of the company. I'm making another company called Bitchin Sauce. And I'm claiming intellectual property on the recipe. And I'm taking all of the revenue.
All of the revenue, all of the accounts, and anything that has to do with the sauce.
And I'm going to leave the company, the Bitchin Inc., to you. I'm actually going to resign as a officer of Bitchin Inc., and she was going to separate out and go start her own company with her new sauce. Well, her old sauce, I guess. It was always hers, I guess, in that train of thought. But
yeah, I even asked her. I was like, "So, what am I to you?" And she was like, you were just my brother helping me out start a company. That's what you were."
Yeah.
Well, I was, the business cards that say owner and everything,
No, in the moment, it was very shocking. It was a surreal moment where.
Yeah, it was like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I remember that you basically prayed for her over the phone and commanded.
I was casting out spirits, baby.
That was the first time I've ever done that. The devil out of somebody. Which, it actually, she did no more talking during that phone call. But, that is when we found out we were locked outside of our own company. Yeah. And no more money. We were not in charge of our own money anymore. Someone else was.
No, it was what was crazy is once that happened, it was like, oh my gosh, we were locked out of the bank account. We were locked out of social media. I mean, I was scrambling to because I was in charge of social media.
Did you come back early from Maine at that point?
I don't know.
I think you came back early. I think you were supposed to stay a little bit longer, but you came back.
Yeah, I don't know. But I remember scrambling to keep her from taking everything. Yeah. Taking, accounts and stuff and,
Yeah.
It was a crazy time.
It was a crazy time. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't think family was capable of doing that type of thing. I mean, we have young babies. We have, rent payments and car payments and a whole life that is built on a salary from a company that we're building. Also, it's not just the ownership of this company; it's the salary.
Oh yeah.
And we went from, making more money than we've ever made before to making as little money as you possibly ever could. Nothing. As little money as we've ever made.
Yeah.
And with young families and all that. And it was truly shocking. after that, we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
We went for customers. We basically, we saw they were going for the money and the control over the facility, but we still had customer relationships and we needed
people
help.
knew who we were. That's
So
right.
I know this, my sister doesn't like this part, but we went on and did a crowd source, which
It's like a GoFundMe or
was it GoFundMe? Okay, so we went on GoFundMe and we had contacts for. I don't know how we shared GoFundMe with.
I think we shared it on. I think I might have had like the access to our social media, our company's social media, and posted on there. Yeah.
So, but we were able to make a video and be like, "Hey, we don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
You know, in our minds, this was just stolen from us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we probably said we were just stolen from on the video. And
Probably.
we need help. And so if it's money or someone just knows what to do to help us in the situation of our customers, like, please help us. And then we sat in your house for 3 weeks. Just what are we going to do here? We, a couple of attorneys reached out to us. We had some conversations with attorneys. Nothing was good. Nothing was
like landing.
Nothing was landing. It was all like, oh, you have a percentage chance of winning this if you do this. It'll cost this much. I have no money.
Yeah.
Great move for Star to be like, oh, they can't do anything. They can't take me to court. They have no money. Like, having no money is a problem. And the crowdsourcing wasn't enough. I think we paid some rent so we could stay in our homes with that money. We raised like $2,000. But no, for 3 weeks we sat there trying to figure out what to do. And then my wife's mom sent us a Bible verse, and it said, well, basically she has this whole letter, and this letter is going to be posted so you can read, all of you. The exact letter will be posted, and I don't know where I'm going to post it. We'll put it somewhere.
Throw it up in the link or something.
Yeah. But it said, I was in a situation where I was in a lawsuit with my family, and it is the worst thing ever. Don't do it. And then there's a Bible verse, and it was talking about, like, don't sue your brother. Mm-hmm. And this is in 1 Corinthians 6.
Yeah.
And it talks about, it being wrong to take a brother to court. And I'm paraphrasing, would you rather do wrong and take your brother or sister to court? Or would you rather be wronged and, suffer the defrauding? Yeah. And in that moment, we knew what to do.
Yep.
It also says in that section that you pull together someone from the church to make a judgment.
Yep.
And, anyone from the church. Mm-hmm. And so we saw that as the victorious path.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we will call in somebody that she'll listen to, somebody that she respects.
Yeah.
And we'll present our case, and it won't go through the court system.
Yeah.
It'll be done in a godly manner. And what happened next?
Well, we presented it to Star. We were like, hey, this is what we need to do. Star had a lawyer write a letter, basically, formalizing her resignation and formalizing, kicking us out of the kitchen or whatever, based off of her intellectual property claim. Mm-hmm. And which, if you listen to the last podcast, you can hear and understand the origins of Bitchin Sauce and where it came from, and who started it, and how we made it and brought it to the market. But so anyways, the intellectual property claims and all that stuff, she did the lawyer thing, and we had no regard for that stupid lawyer.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, we didn't. We made no agreements.
We made no agreements with that guy, and
legal system.
We presented a mediation to Star, and she denied it and wouldn't do it.
Yep.
And so that was the moment that we realized, it's better. Well, we had already read, it's better to be wrong than to do wrong. But now it's like, all right, we're about to live this thing. It's better to be wrong than to do wrong.
Yeah.
And so, that was 2015, 10 years ago when that happened.
Yeah.
I think it was August or September 2015. So, that launched us into this hope of, the fruit of that choice and receiving the godly fruit that would bring us. And, that's kind of the next part of this.
That is the next part. More to come.